Steph Weaves Tales presents Paxwood, The Trial of the Demon Slayer, a paranormal fantasy web serial written and narrated by Stephanie Gildart. Episode 8, Those Who We Protect. Carrie might be fine with putting her relationship with her mother in the limelight, but I'm used to keeping my parents safe by keeping the attention away from them. When they came to visit me at the hospital, it was a bit of a surprise. We just spent time together for my graduation ceremony earlier that month, and usually I went months, not days, between sharing the room with them. I won't say more, though. I'm the one with the prophecy on my shoulders, not them. Nobody told me I had to sever contact with my parents or my extended family. In fact, Chris regularly encouraged me to call, write, send pictures, and keep them in my life. You're not the only one to distance yourself from non-magical family. But I want to be sure you know it's not the only option, Chris said to me once. It's the only one that lets me focus on the responsibilities in front of me, I'd replied. We talked it over plenty of times in therapy sessions, but nothing shook my resolve. That feeling still holds strong inside of me now. My parents did not ask to be part of this destiny or part of this story. I'm willing to say that my parents came to visit me. That's the extent of that. If you want a moment of warm connection, well, I can tell you about Thanksgiving during my freshman year instead. Gives you context for how I know Alex and Bran, anyway. And Marcus, for that matter. Not that Carrie's told you about Marcus yet. Thanksgiving is a fake holiday, but like any fake holiday worth its salt, it has some meaningful traditions. Good food, good company, a chance to take a break and remember what we've got to be thankful for. I was ignoring all those traditions with Stahlblum strapped across my back as I walked the streets of Back Bay on patrol. Some of us had to be out here in the dark night so that everyone else could overindulge with turkey and pumpkin pie. Alice was out of town visiting her own family, so I was on my own. But I'd been in enough scrapes through high school to feel comfortable with myself. Stahlblum's new sheath made it invisible and undetectable by magic or technology. On surveillance footage, I was a tall young woman walking along with nothing odd about me. I didn't count on running into one of the most powerful wizards of my generation. "This is an amazing enchantment," they said as they sidled up next to me. "It's so powerful, I'm not sure what's underneath it. It's even distorting the total mass and volume of whatever it is." Not a demon, unless they also had some kind of enchantment to mask their demonic aura. But the crown of autumn leaves nestled in their long brown hair made them unimposing. They had a thin, square frame and wore a creamy white blouse with a rich brown leather vest embossed with more autumn leaves. Their jeans were tucked into warm hiking boots topped with a cushioned fur collar. A pair of thin wire glasses with no lenses perched on their nose. A 5 o'clock shadow covered the olive skin of their face. This was someone who looked at gender-based fashion and grooming norms and chose whatever they wanted, not what society wanted for them. Despite the confusing contrasts, they moved comfortably as they walked alongside me. "Sorry, what?" I asked. First strategy when approached by a stranger? Deny everything. "The enchantment you're wearing on your back," they answered. "Oh, you're tall, too. I've spotted you around late at night, moving like you're on a patrol. Demon hunter, right? So, sword, bow, or rifle?" I shrugged. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, come on," they said. "You're not the only college student who brought some paranormal baggage with you." "My name's Alex, they, them. I'm a wizard." "Have you ever noticed any spells like this around?" They ran one hand along the wall of the building we were walking past and left a faint trace of magic behind. Detecting magic wasn't my specialty, but Ellis had pointed out defensive sigils carved or painted into some structures, and magically impressed upon others. "Maybe," I admitted. "Most of them aren't mine originally, but whenever I see a protective ward that's weakening, I can't help but boost it up a bit," Alex said. "There's this old haunted house in my hometown that I did what I could to contain, so it's an old habit." I'm not much of a fighter, but my ex was. When we were in high school, we'd run around keeping folks safe. And that's why I know your type on sight. You don't have to pretend. You're a sword fighter and a monster hunter. Rowen, she, her, I said, extending a hand. Nice to meet you, Rowen, Alex said. I'm about to meet some friends at the Golden Scales. Have you ever been? I shook my head. Golden Scales? Little speakeasy that's popular with the magic crowd here in Boston, they explained. You should come with me. Meet some new people. Get a pulse on the local community and goings-on. Even hunters have to network. I shook my head. I've got my network, and someone has to make sure the streets are safe. Have you ever had pumpkin pie prepared by an actual gold dragon? Alex asked. Well, descendant of a gold dragon. She claims. Come on, at least warm up for a few minutes. It's close. Their insistence and their charm caught me pleasantly by surprise. I met their gaze for a moment and found only sincerity there. I'd made some mundane friends, and the local chapter of the Hands of the Seers was impressively connected. With the number of colleges and libraries in Boston, it made an excellent gathering point for the academics and researchers among the Hands. But Alex's suggestion made sense. And even if Thanksgiving was a fake holiday, loneliness came in all shapes. I feigned reluctance. I suppose I could take a break for a slice of a gold dragon's pumpkin pie. Oh, fair warning. There's a magic suppression field at the Golden Scales, Alex said. Georgette doesn't mind when hunters bring in their weapons as long as those weapons are visible and stay sheathed. And she has no room for dragon slayers, fascists, homophobes, or anyone who's otherwise actively intolerant of those who are vulnerable. Understood. I hesitated. What's her stance on the Hands of the Seers and their prophesied chosen ones? Alex raised an eyebrow. Ah, you're one of those. Haven't seen her turn anyone away just for that sort of affiliation alone. It's their individual actions and prejudices she's looking at. We made our way down the street, through a narrow alley, to a fire exit, into a stairwell, down a flight of stairs, and to an unassuming door. When Alex pushed it open, a bouncer in a tailored suit greeted him with a simple nod. He looked a little more closely at me, or rather, over my shoulder at Stahlblum. Just as Alex had warned me, my Zweihander was now in full view. Keep it sheathed, the bouncer said to me, straightforward enough, and then he waved us in. I half expected to find myself in a fantasy-themed tavern, with dark hardwood tables and beer and heavy steins, but the Golden Scales was, in fact, golden. The tables and counters were made of gold-flecked granite. The chairs and benches were gold with rich brown leather seats. Small golden lights embedded in the ceiling sparkled like stars, and stained glass windows glimmered in a noisy rainbow of color. Most depicted dragons in Art Deco style. There was easily enough seating for 30 people, with more space for a dance floor and a small raised stage for live performers. Though there weren't any this evening. 4 patrons sat at the bar, and a half-dozen more were scattered around the various tables. But it was pretty quiet, all things considered. Alex, Alex, Alex! Bran stood up from where he sat at a table on his own, grinning that Cheshire grin of his. So is this your date for the evening? Tall sword masters are your type, then. Too bad I'm an axe-wielding lumber fairy. Alex laughed, delighted. Are you serious? Lumber fairy? Someone has to fell the trees destined for the crafts fae. No, you don't get it. Alex crossed the floor to Bran's side and wrapped him in a hug. When I was in high school, I petitioned to change our mascot to the Lumber Pixies because Lumberjacks was too basic. And you're telling me there are actual lumber fae? This exchange wasn't meant for me. I knew flirting when I saw it. I eased back and let the two have their moment, taking the chance to study the other patrons. My senses pinged on a pale man with pitch-black hair in a white button-up shirt and jeans. By appearance, in his 30s. But I knew that feeling. Vampire. He could be any age at all. I tensed, considering reaching for my sword. A black woman sitting at a table between me and the vampire set her knitting project aside and waved to me. She had a short sword and a pistol both laid out on the table, along with a plate bearing the remnants of whatever she'd had for dinner, and a glass of something amber on the rocks. Don't mind him. Marcus hunts demons, not humans. If you're picking up his aura, it's just all that demon blood he drinks. He and Georgie go way back. She introduced herself as Naomi and invited me to join her, joking about how Alex and Bran would be busy enough with each other for a bit. The two weren't officially dating yet, but they were definitely courting each other. Georgette appeared at the table with 2 slices of pumpkin pie, one for each of us, and a flash of a smile. She had warm brown skin and short, curly gold hair. Even her makeup was bright gold. "Alex brought you in, didn't they?" Georgette asked as she placed the pie down in front of me. "That one's an excellent people reader. Good friend to have at your side, too. Welcome to the Golden Scales." "I didn't order anything yet," I said, a little confused. "Oh, Alista's only got weak foresight, but she told me to have 2 slices ready for Naomi's table and 2 for Bran's. And she's right more often than not with orders." Georgette nodded back toward a woman about my age sitting at the bar with a deck of tarot cards out next to her. "She'll read your fortune if you ask her." I was swept away by the kindness and community offered to me that quiet Thanksgiving evening at the Golden Scales. Throughout the winter that followed, I often ducked in to warm up or catch the news and rumors. On long holiday weekends and after tests, I'd visit to celebrate or unwind. Some regulars became my friends. Naomi was a lifelong Boston resident and mundane human hunter, quick-witted and deadly. We helped each other out more than once. Alex became my go-to for protective spells until they graduated, even though I knew that the Hands of the Seers would provide any resources I needed. Alex was a good friend and good company. Marcus. Well, Naomi would talk with him sometimes, and Georgette often, and others enjoyed his company besides, but I never could quite make myself comfortable with the idea of a good vampire. Of the 3 types of vampires, sanguine, prime, and spawn, both sanguine and prime vampires were only made through a consensual process, and spawn were murdered humans reanimated by demonic spirits with nothing of their humanity left inside. Marcus was too strong to be spawn, so in his past, he had consented to an immortal existence fueled by the consumption of blood. I abided by the rules of the Golden Scales and treated him with respect, but I didn't see him as a friend, or even a potential ally. While Alista always guessed my orders correctly, I never took her up on her offer to read my fortune in her cards. I always figured I knew my future. I'd fulfill my prophecy and become a mentor, like Ellis. Simple. Straightforward. Not so simple anymore. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Paxwood Book 2, The Trial of the Demon Slayer, is written and narrated by Stephanie Gildart. That's me. Theme music composed by Human Nature. Visit paxwoodtales.com to read the story as it unfolds. Want to read over my shoulder while I write what's next? Catch me live on Moonbeam for laid-back virtual write-ins and crafting. If you like the story and you want more, like, review, comment, subscribe. And if you're feeling particularly entangled, buy me a skein of yarn on Ko-fi. Carrie's paranormal tip of the day. A dragon's coloration has nothing whatsoever to do with its alignment. Some fantasy storytellers might say that each color comes with a particular nature, but in reality, their scales have more to do with their ancestral legacies and environments. So, you can't judge a dragon by their scales, no matter how golden.